Hey, welcome in. I'm Rita, and this is The Story I'm Telling Myself, a podcast about uncovering the beliefs that hold us back and rewriting them with truth, courage, and clarity. If you've ever felt like you're standing in your own way, you are not alone. Let's get into it. Welcome to another work week, my friends. It is Tuesday, but it feels like Monday for those of us celebrating the Memorial holiday yesterday. So I'm all confused about what day of the week it is, but I'm not confused about the fact that we're supposed to be together this afternoon. So thanks for joining us. If you're here in the live, be sure to jump in the comments and say hello and welcome today's guest, Michelle Phillips. Michelle, thank you for saying yes to joining us on The Story I'm Telling Myself, and tell everybody who you are.
Hello, Rita. Thank you for having me. I am Michelle Phillips. I wrote under my name Alarmingly Enthusiastic because that's what I've been called in the past. But I am a workshop leader. I'm an international speaker and a coach, executive coach. I'm getting my words minced. I work in Fortune 100 and 500 companies with individuals who want to take control of their destinies personally and professionally.
I love it. And you can just, those of you that know me, you know why Michelle and I click immediately, because we have this energy wave that we ride together. You can learn more about Michelle and what she does at key2unlock.com. And I put that on the screen, key2unlock.com. And she would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. So be sure to find her and give her a follow. And I'm so excited. This is finale week. I think I told you that, Michelle, that you were going to be in our finale week. And I'm so excited to have Michelle as our guest because she is going to put the perfect capstone on everything that we've talked about in this first season around really uncovering our internal narrator. Because she's going to tell us about discovering, naming, claiming, and taming her internal narrators. That's all the intro I'm going to give to this, Michelle. You walk us into the story at whatever point you want to, but tell us a little bit about how you named, claimed, and tamed your internal narrators.
Well, let me even start where you started with our energy. So the energy of positivity, of optimism, it's not something that I shouldn't say it comes natural, but it's something you have to focus on and work at. And I've discovered what I love sharing with people is, yes, energy comes from eating healthy and working out and getting a good night's sleep, but energy comes from processing your emotions, processing your feelings, right? All these things we're going to talk about today. That story you're telling yourself. And years ago, I have a really wicked inner critic who just berates me. And it's almost like when she gets her claws into me, I can't shake her, even though I know she's there. So what I've done, I don't know how many years ago, I named her Wanda because all of us have like the inner critic and the inner coach. But the key is, which one are you feeding? And by naming her, it really allowed me to separate her. She's not me. Michelle Phillips is beautiful and loving, and but this Wanda, she is wicked. She is relentless, and she will beat the heck out of me if I let her. So over the years, my husband and I, he has his inner critic named also. His name is Bill. My husband is Gary. His inner critic is Bill. And we have this great dialogue. So whenever one of us gets emotionally hijacked and that inner critic takes over, I could say to him, Wanda's in the room. I need space. We need to, just don't come anywhere near me because it's not going to be pretty. So, I can tell you some more stories. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's sort of that shorthand right now. It's interesting. How people come to the names that they give their inner critic. My inner critic is called Miranda. And she is the Miranda from The Devil Wears Prada, the one that slides those glasses down her nose and gives you the look like you are just so like a piece of dirt on the smallest pinhead on the planet. Like that's how my Miranda shows up for me. And that's why she's called Miranda, because that that seething. I mean, it's not like she's sounding off in my head with a loud voice. It is that quiet scorn. It's the quiet scorn, right?
You don't
That
have.
is
I love
my inner.
the feel of the glasses because you don't need any words to feel her.
Yes, exactly. So, is there a particular reason that it was Wanda for you?
I don't know. I maybe with the wicked Wanda. I don't know, but it just, one of those things where you just know and you know. So I named my inner critic Wanda and my inner coach Grace. And Wanda talks relentlessly at me all day, every day. And I really have to tell her to, take a time out. Where Grace, I have to summon. I have to say, Grace, what do you think? Wanda's always telling me, and if anyone listening right now or watching, there's a voice in your head that is forever narrating your life. And
Yes.
you could tell which voice you're listening to by how you're feeling right now. If you're feeling good, you're listening to the inner coach. If you're feeling like that piece of dirt on a pinhead, you're tuning into the inner critic.
So, give us some more examples of it might be conversations with your husbands. So I love that the two of you are doing this work together. And I find that to be a really great tip for any of you. If you are wanting to take on this work, it could be a buddy at work. In fact, you might have some workout buddies in several places around you. So many times during my career, I have had a coworker that I've said, look, I'm kind of working on this thing and I need you to let me know how I'm doing. Catch me and tell me you missed the opportunity. Or look, you did that beautifully. Like give me. So I've always invited peer-to-peer coaches around me. So having somebody else that is doing this work with you that can practice what Michelle's going to describe here in a minute, it could be somebody in the workplace, or like for her, it's her husband. It could be somebody more personal, your sister, your best friend, whomever that you choose. But bring us into some ideas of ways that once you choose to name. So the naming is important because it distances us, right? Right. And then the claiming part of it is really beginning to recognize and go, aha, I see you, Wanda, right? So give us some examples of how the claiming part of that works and how you and your husband make that help a useful tool for navigating tricky things in your relationship.
Yeah. Oh, you hit on so many good things. Before I get into my husband example, which is one of my favorites, but I work with intact teams and corporations. And I recently did a workshop with a team in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And it was like, I think 7 or 8 people on a leadership team. And I tell the story and we talk about ego and what happens when you're emotionally hijacked. And this team said, let's name our egos. Let's name our inner critics. And the entire leadership team picked a name so they could, call each other out in a kind way, in a professional way,
Yes.
when they were maybe acting out. So I really love that they embraced that. As for my husband and I, my favorite story is I just have this distinct memory of driving to Rhode Island. I don't remember. I think we were going to the wine. We used to go to the wine festival every September in Rhode Island. And I was in a fit for, I don't even know why. That's the best part about when you get emotionally hijacked. You don't remember why. But I remember being in the car and I was like, I don't know what I was complaining about, but I was on him. Complain, arrow, I don't even remember. And he looked at me and he opened the window on the driver's side and he said, we are throwing Wanda out the window right now because she's not coming on this trip with us. So
I love it.
I get I get it. And I'm still like, so now I'm in the car and she's not letting go of me, but I know, he got me, right? So it's like, okay, Michelle, breathe. So probably 10 minutes goes by and I start in again. And he's like, Michelle, we threw her out the window 10 miles ago. Like, why is she still here? And it's the funniness of it. It's the making it this character outside of you. It breaks down your defenses. It gets you to laugh. And then we can have a nice evening. Instead, the old me, before I knew these tools, right? I would ruin our night. I would pick a fight. I would stomp around and be in a bad mood. There's a reason I teach this, Rita, because it's changed my life for the better. And one last thought is, I love the saying, the mastermind. A mastermind is someone who's mastered their mind. and you're the only one in there.
I love that. I love that too. So it gives you this vehicle. What I'm hearing you share with us, Michelle, is when you name, not only does it give you distance, but it gives the people around you a way to sort of put the brakes on behavior that's coming at them from you. But again, making it distance. It's not about you, Michelle. It's about Wanda, right?
Yeah, and the
There's
naming.
this
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't want to
buffer,
cut you
maybe
off.
would you call it a buffer? I don't know.
Yeah. Did you have another thought that I cut off?
Yeah, it seems to me like it's almost like an emotional buffer or maybe a moat that somehow gets created for us.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest thing with emotions is the naming of them. Because most of us go, we feel good or bad. And I want people to pinpoint what's underneath good or bad. Is it disappointment? Is it overwhelm? Is it frustration? Is it feeling disrespected? Because when you are able to zero in and name it, now you can do something about it. So let's say I felt disrespected or overwhelmed, pick any emotion. And then I have to say to myself, is it true? We often make mountains out of molehills, and that's what our inner critic will do, right? It'll take it like a dog with a bone and it won't let go until you're feeling like that. I forget what you said, that dirt on a pinhead. You're feeling that small. So again, when you're able to name it, you catch it before it gains momentum. So that's the thing of naming it and saying, okay, now I see it. Do I want to spiral? Because every emotion, I always say, is like an electromagnetic unit of energy that collects another emotion just like it. And you could spiral yourself down into feeling worthless in under 10 minutes, or you could catch it and then shift it. So that's the goal.
I love what you just named about the contagion of emotions. Because part of what stands out in the story of your husband in that Rhode Island car trip is, he could have come with anger. So if you were nitpicking at him, right? So you're being critical of him. He could have our mirror neurons. Typically, what happens, right, is our defenses get triggered, and we turn around and give back as good as we got.
Exactly. And I was in that loop for a long time.
And so, but because you guys have been working on this practice, he is able to step away from getting triggered himself, right? By saying, this isn't who Michelle is. This is a moment Michelle is having, and ascribing that to Wanda. Right?
You are saying something so important right there. It's what you're feeling is just what you're feeling in that moment. It's not who you are. And that's where so many people, they identify with the feeling, but that's really not who they are. So when they're able to separate, name it, tame, and then claim, no, I'm a beautiful being. I'm doing the best I can. I'm having a bad moment. So when you're able to tell that new story, if I go to the title of your session, your episode here, right? The story I'm telling myself is I'm getting better at handling my emotions. And the better you get at handling your emotions, the less they, what's the other quote I love? When your mind runs away, starts to run away, you don't have to go with it.
I love that quote. I forgot now. That's so good. But we titled this, Who's the Boss of Me? Because so much of the time we're stuck on autopilot where we feel big feelings and we let them become the boss of us. And it's not that maybe you didn't have any reason now in reflection, but in the moment, I bet if somebody were to pause you and say, Michelle, what are you really upset about? You would have a legitimate thing, right, that you were upset about. So negative emotions have legitimacy. And that's why we are always teaching this is not about ignoring or tamping down those emotions. We're not asking you to tamp down the emotion. We're asking you to not let the emotion run away with you.
And to, once you name where it is, I love what you're saying. I think positive psychology, sometimes happiness gets a bad rap because they think put a Band-Aid over it and ignore it. And that's not what it is. But when you can stop it and say, oh, I'm feeling frustrated, or I'm feeling less important or not seen. And then you say, how do I want to feel? What's the outcome I want? And you're not going to jump. I think a lot of people want to jump from feeling low to feeling high, which is why I always say we drink, drug, shop, you name any addictive behavior. But if I can go from maybe feeling low or frustrated, not to feeling great, but just to feel a little bit better, right? What's going to get me to where I could breathe and just get palpable relief in my body, where I could take a breath? And that's where positive psychology comes in. Optimistic versus pessimistic behavior. And I know you know this. Optimists see events as temporary and specific, where pessimists see events as universal and always. So when I know my bad or my sad or my lonely or whatever the emotion is temporary, that feels better already, knowing it's not permanent. It's not who I am. It doesn't have to stay with me. And it gives you that palpable relief. So I might not go from feeling, bad to wonderful, but I could be like, I could ride this wave. I can handle this.
You know what the visual that just popped in my mind when you said this, and I've never thought of this before. So thank you for triggering and giving me this visual. Roller coasters. I have a love-hate relationship with roller coasters. There is so much, those sharp turns at high speeds and all of that. I love that. But those big drops, right? I do not like the big drop. I love going the loop to loop, no problem. The big drops where it just feels like your
stomach is.
Yes, I do not like those. So what I have to do on a roller coaster is you're climbing, click, click, click up the hill. Because I don't do the ones where they shoot you and you go, no, I stop there. I have not done that. I think I'm too old for that. But you're click, click up the hill, and you know what's going to happen when you round the top of that hill. This is the big momentum builder. So this is going to be the steepest drop. It's going to be pretty vertical, like all the things, right? And so what I tell myself in that moment is, this whole thing is going to be under a minute. There's very few roller coaster rides that last more than a minute. And so this is such a small portion. Like, you're in it for all the rest of it. Just breathe through this moment of panic and fear, and then you're going to enjoy the rest of it. And I think that is exactly what you were just saying, like recognizing that no matter what has happened that makes us so angry, frustrated, resentful, whatever it might be, if you're going through the path, you name it, then you claim it. Mm-hmm. Now you can tame it. Now you can say, this is momentary. This doesn't define this relationship. This doesn't define the next hour, the next day, the next week, unless I let it. And that's the taming part of it, right?
Yeah.
And how many people right now are walking around in our world carrying all kinds of hurt and anger and baggage from day to week to month to battle to battle to battle, right? I mean, if you don't ever, it will destroy you and everyone around you if you allow it.
You make so many good points. I love the roller coaster analogy. I'm a quoteaholic, so I have to share the quote that came up when you said that. It's the only one gets hurt. The only one that gets hurt on a roller coaster is the one who tries to get off. So your emotions are similar, right? Like you said, it's only going to be a minute and it's going to be over. So I think the biggest thing I tell myself and my clients, and again, I'm always working on myself, is, am I bleeding? Is the building on fire? If in this moment I'm not bleeding and there's no real emergency, the sun is shining, it's a nice day, I'm on this beautiful episode with you, then the drama I am experiencing, or the anxiety, are all being conjured from the story I'm telling myself, from my mind. So can I write a new outcome for myself?
Yeah, I mean, I think so it starts with naming it, right? So naming the feeling. So pretty much, I think it's fair to say, correct me if you see it differently, anytime that you are having feelings that are pulling energy away from you, that's a good signal. That should be the bat signal that goes off.
Yes. It's
right?
that gut punch, right?
That
That
the
funny
energy
feeling.
drain. Anything that's really draining your energy, right? It's like, okay, that's the bat signal in the sky that says, okay, I need to stop and figure out what the story is I'm telling myself. Like, what am I so upset about? And one of my favorite authors talks about the pivot of underneath your pain, your hurt, your complaint is very deep caring. We don't bother to complain if we don't care.
Yeah.
So one of the pivot pathways is to say, why am I caring so deeply? Why am I so hurt by this? Why does this make me so angry? And a lot of times when you pause to do that, I mean, first of all, you have to have some control. So you have to be there, you got to tame it. So you got to name it, right? Then you got to claim it. Okay, my my inner critic is going off. My Wanda is got control right now. And then you get curious. Why does Wanda feel the need to step in and protect me? What is she so fearful about? What is she caring so deeply about? And so for me personally, most of the time it's that somebody has crossed a value that is core to my principles of my life.
It could be, that could definitely be something. And you said a couple things. So it's, I want to even go back because it's so important to everyone listening. It's most of us, it's that initial funny feeling in your stomach, right? The bat signal, you called it. And most people override that and keep going. And their bat signals are going off all day long. So they're just compressing all these emotions without processing them. So what I've learned, and which I love so much, is when you are in what I call, tuned in, tapped in, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, in a good place, your inner critic is silent. Think about when you're doing activities you love, when you're in dancing or hiking, there is no inner critic. But like you said, as soon as you feel that, I tell people stop. And you said it too, right? Stop. What's the story I'm telling myself? And it could definitely be someone, stepped on my values. But sometimes with me, I committed to something I don't want to do. I said something about someone I shouldn't have said, right? It's my internal guidance and it's brilliant. It's like, warning, bat signal, warning, Michelle, you hit the rumble strips. That's a
good one too. Yeah.
I always tease. I say some people go through life like this whole day, like they're just on the rumble strips and they never take a minute to like redirect their thoughts and tell a new story. And so, yeah, values are big. Jealousy sometimes for me, I always tease my clients, how many minutes, seconds do you have to go on social media to think someone has it better than you? And then I always say to myself, Michelle, do you want what they have? And if I do, it says, okay, well then what are you doing to get it? And if I don't, it's like, why am I making myself crazy? So there's so many reasons our brains start to hit the rumble strips. But like you're saying, that pause to name it, claim it, and then tame it. And the better you get at it, and the less emotionally hijacked you become. And, that's when the speed starts taking you in the good direction of the story you're telling yourself is, the better it gets. I'm having a great life. I call it magic carpet days, when everything goes right. Because that inner critic isn't beating you up.
And it is a practice. Not only are you not trying to move your emotions from bottomed out to peak, like we're just trying to, raise the level a little bit, but you're not going to go to 0 to 60 with this. No. So you've got to allow yourself the grace to build the skill set and the habits and the practice. And it does get easier over time.
Yeah. And I love what you said earlier too about, giving yourself that grace to process the emotions and feel them. And I always remember in My Stroke of Insight by Jill Bolte Taylor.
I love that book. Yeah.
Wasn't it so good? I mean, here she is, a Harvard neuroscientist having a stroke, age 38, and she loses the left side of her brain for 8 years, But I think in the book, I remember in the book, she talks about, I had a pity party every day for 20 minutes. Why me? This stinks. I don't, and then it's over. So sometimes when you're feeling these emotions, you want to process them. You want to have your pity party. But, just like that old analogy of bath water, when you take a bath, you eventually get out of the dirty water. So limiting the time, feel the emotions, do not ignore them. But then do you want to stay here with these emotions? And again, if nobody's bleeding and there's not a real emergency, you're making stuff up.
Well, and one of the stories that I think trips a lot of us up, one of the stories that we carry with us is a story that the other party in our hurt owes us something.
And that, I always, again, the thing that gets me through that is the story I tell myself is that everyone's doing the best they can and nobody's intentionally out to hurt me. And I think something that's really helped me also is, Michelle, never put yourself into someone else's head, because I think I know what you're thinking, but I always tease, I'm judging you, judging me, but really I'm the judging party. So you don't know what's going on in another person's head. And do people hurt each other? Do they disappoint each other? Do I hurt people? Do I disappoint people? Yes, to all of the above. But that grace of giving people the benefit of the doubt, and all this work, as you know, is, I always say, turning the mirror on yourself. And, people will continue to disappoint us and, have different things going on. But again, it's my role to navigate that, not control you, but navigate myself and my own emotions.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. In my book, Show Up Positive, the whole focus of the book is you don't get to control anybody but yourself. So find your point of strength in your agency and operate from there. And when we take a stance like, well, Michelle did me wrong, and so I'm just going to be angry. I'm going to freeze her out. I'm going to, I'm just going to choose to be mad until she makes it better with me. I give you all the power.
Yes.
I give you all the power. And so then eventually you become sad. You're losing a relationship with somebody. This is what happens in marriages, right? And in family drama, you get your anger becomes bitterness because you're so sad, because you don't really want the relationship. But the story you're telling yourself is, this isn't on me, it's on them. But the truth is, we all have the agency and the power to build the bridge back.
And I think what people don't realize, I love what you're saying, is when you turn that mirror back on yourself and you only control yourself. And when you work there, you're able to navigate these, other relationships. Again, it doesn't mean you're not going to feel sadness and hurt. Those are all real emotions. But Rita, just a couple of years ago, I clicked in my brain. You know how you say a saying your whole life. And then a couple of years ago, it dawned on me, when I give you the benefit of the doubt, I get the benefit. And I was like, oh, I never got that so deep before. And I just love it. It's like, when I give you the benefit of the doubt, I'm the one that gets the benefit. So again, this, tit versus tat, me versus you, who's in control, if people can just let go of that and realize you make your own way, and you're, and that inner critic is the one that going, look what they made you do. Look what they made you look stupid, or they did this to you.
Exactly. Right. But we do allow, so we allow our internal narrator to be the boss of us. And we also allow other people to be the boss of us when we give up our ability to navigate a relationship and use our agency to get what we want. I mean, if what you want is to no longer have a relationship with that person, that's easy. But when you're sitting in sadness and sadness is turning to bitterness, you're on that anger, bitterness, downward spiral thing. Anytime you're feeling that level of bitterness, what that means is that you have given your power over. You're in sadness when you actually have the opportunity and possibility to heal. We had a situation in our family with my oldest daughter when she was a teenager, and we were working with a family therapist, and the family therapist just finally said to us, you realize that she may never come back to you and apologize. She may never own up to all of the things that she did that contributed to this crisis inside of your family. And if you're not willing to let that go, you are jeopardizing your future with your child. And she was right. I mean, my husband and I, we were waiting for Natalie to, own that and say her piece. And we sort of had to look at one another and go, okay, well, I guess we got to let that go. And that's what people talk about. Forgiveness isn't for other people. It's for you. It's like, which do I want more? Do I want my daughter to be a 30, 40-year-old wise person that she's not yet at 14 and own all of her stuff? Or am I just going to say, it doesn't matter because I'm your mom and I love you anyway, and we can move past this. I can just choose to let this go.
It's so beautiful that you say that. And that's such a good example of people often want it to be different than it is. And what they're telling you is like, it's not different, but you have to accept that. And I think, people want you to fix it, change it. I'm like, no, this inner critic and this focusing, is about you focusing so you feel better, regardless of whether she ever owns it. And that's a beautiful story. And how many years ago was that?
It's coming up on 10 years. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting close. Yeah.
I mean, you could have had 10 years of family angst.
Yes, exactly. So we haven't really given any time. We're getting to the end of our time. We haven't given any time to grace, but this idea of acceptance, and grace is sort of the inner voice that helps you find the pivot into acceptance, correct? You want to talk a little bit about grace and give maybe some tips about how you allow Grace, your other narrator, to, as you're decreasing the volume on Wanda, allowing Grace to fill in.
Yeah, thank you, Rita. As I said, Wanda just, barks away all day, every day. And Grace, I have to invite in because she's the quiet one in the background. But if anyone watching or listening has ever, about to do something you never did before, there's that one voice inside you that's going, you can do it. And then the other voice is like, are you crazy? Right? You can do it. Are you crazy? And it's really knowing that those battling voices are real. And, sometimes I say to Wanda, Wanda, I know you mean well. I've heard you out, but let's hear from Grace. And Grace, really, all she ever says to me mostly is, I love you. You're beautiful. I know you're doing your best. You got this. And she just soothes me. And it's so interesting. Sometimes when I'm out walking, I'll just say, Grace, what do you think about this? And then these answers come back, like they just drop into your mind. When there's a great belief too, don't ever ask a question you don't want the answer to. So when you say, why am I so stupid? Your brain goes, oh, here, let me give you a list. But when you go, how can I overcome this? Your brain also gives you a list. So really inviting Grace in, or your inner coach, to say, tell me what's good about me. Tell me what I'm doing well. Tell me what I'm not seeing. And, it's amazing if you just ask the right question, the question you want the answer to, the answer that will come back to you. You have to try it on and be the judge.
Yeah, I love that. And I love flipping the question, right? So, choosing to focus. So there's two practices you're building here, right? One practice is recognizing Wanda, recognizing your inner critic, and learning to get the volume control happening on that voice in your head. And the other is elevating, inviting this wiser self within you that can coach you. And but coaching requires good questions. Great coaches always ask good questions. And so you have to give the right questions.
Yeah, and take the time to tap in to know that there's this wise self in you. And, the more you ask it a intellectual, or not intellectual, a smart question, a question you want the answer to, how can I overcome this? What's a good idea for me to move forward? How should I step? It's amazing what comes back. And it might not, if you've not tuned into this side of your voice, coach, inner coach, it might not come right away. But I guarantee you, my favorite thing to do is just at night before I go to sleep, ask my inner being, my inner coach, a question, ask maybe for the answer to come in my dream, or just to come when I wake up in the morning. And it's amazing the answers you get when you just leave some space for silence and, put the question out and then, wait and see what comes back. It might not come back right away.
I don't have the episode number right in front of me because I didn't know we were going to end up here. But there are 2 prior episodes I would tune you guys into, our listeners. Episode 1 with Karen Laus on she gives several great activities and exercises that can really help you tune into your internal strength and power that would relate very much to this coaching voice. And then Melissa Robinson Hussein, I think she's around episode 15, somewhere in that vicinity. She talked about being positively triggered, and her process around setting up positive triggers in your life are exactly the kind of practices Michelle is talking about really learning to tune into and giving more focus and power to this wiser inner self. So that we have had some other guests that I think combine very well into this episode. Well, it's time to close out our conversation, Michelle. This has just been the perfect encapsulation of everything we've been talking about this entire season, about really discovering our internal narrators and recognizing that you are not alone. So thank you for being so honest and authentic with everyone about your own struggles and the way that you get hijacked by your internal Wanda, because that is part of our humanity. And we spend a lot of time getting angry at other people for things that are just the worst, the most difficult part of being human, showing up in our humanness, right?
And allowing it to be a little messy sometimes.
Yeah, and it is going to be, right? It is going to be, and it's all forgivable. It is all, yes. But the more you practice forgiveness with yourself, the easier it becomes to practice forgiveness with others. And we have mirror neurons on our side. So when other people experience your forgiveness, many times they reflect it right back to you. Any parting words that you want to share with our listeners to close out the episode, Michelle?
Just one quote is that I always tell myself. I always say, I'm not telling you anything I don't tell myself. It's, you always have more power than you think.
You always have more power than you think. I absolutely believe that. Number 2, key2unlock.com is how you can connect with Michelle. All of her social channels, everything is going to be on her website there for you to access her, follow her content. Thank you for joining us today. We have one final episode this week. It's an episode 37. And then we are finished with the lives for this season. The replays will continue to roll out on Spotify and YouTube and Apple Music and all of the podcasting places. So join me and Brad Luttrell Thursday, so in 2 days, at 9:30 a.m. And we're going to finish on the theme of communication. Are you offering a painkiller? When you are advocating, when you are standing up for yourself, whether you're going for a job, whether you're going for a promotion, or whether you're a business owner selling your services, Brad is a marketer, and he's going to help us uncover how we get stuck in the story of what it is we want to sell and what we want to say, and we lose sight of connecting to the painkiller people really want and need in their lives. Now, I'm so excited to really start with communication and end with communication. This is going to be a good one. And Brad is just hilarious. What Michelle brings to us in energy, Brad brings it to us in humor. So I feel very blessed to be ending the season this way. So Michelle, you have been so wonderful. Thank you for saying yes
Oh, thank you for having me, Rita. This was so fun.
I know we could have talked a lot longer, but I'm going to honor the time length of the show. I will see everybody back here, final episode on Thursday. Thanks for listening. If you catch us in the replay, #replay, feel free to drop questions, and Michelle and I will be monitoring that, and we'll be happy to answer you. Have a great day, Michelle, and everyone else.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Thank you for joining us on The Story I'm Telling Myself. If you loved this episode, would you do us a big favor to help us reach a bigger audience? Simply subscribe to the Story I'm Telling Myself podcast and rate this episode and share it with a friend. Thank you for listening.